Greetings, loyal viewers, and welcome back. Um, I was just thinking, now that it's October and it's Halloween time, well, not exactly, I mean, it's not Halloween yet, but I figured what better way to get into the Halloween spirit than to do something scary, which is also why it's really dark around here. But today we're going to be taking a look at something from a channel I recently heard of. It's a very well known horror channel called Mr. Nightmare with 10 really creepy true stories. Um, I don't know if I'm ready for this. I really don't. I don't think I've really ever done anything horror related on this channel yet. So I don't know what to expect for the most part, but I'm just not ready for this. And I just hope y'all are braver than I am because I don't know if I can get through this. Just just pray for me, especially because it's almost nighttime out. It's about nighttime out. It's also why it's really dark around here, and the fact that I have very few lights around here for the occasion. But okay, I'm stalling. Let's just get this over with. So without further ado, let's get it on. That does not help.
I moved to my dad's when I was 10, and I didn't know anyone in the area, except for the family my dad was friends with, a single mom with 3 kids. Luckily, there was a girl a couple of years older than me. She was 12 at the time I met her, and we got to know each other a little over a couple of years. We weren't close, but we ended up having the same friends. One night, my friend Rob was hanging out with her and her younger brother. They happened to be in the house alone because my friend's mom was at work. Her mother has been helping this one lady through her work and got to know her fairly well.
Okay.
She found out her sister was in a mental institution and was let out recently.
No. I really hope this is not going to go the Halloween route.
They get a knock on the door. My friend thought it was just their mom, since she knocks a certain way when coming in, and he answered it without thinking. Rob wasn't supposed to be there, and he took off through the window to his house down the road. He never thought twice about it. It wasn't her mom. It was the sister of the lady her mom was helping, and she figured out through talking to her sister where her family lived and her mom's working schedule. She came in. This is where I don't know the details, and I'm glad I don't. My friend's younger brother got away to the neighbor's house to call the police. The lady brutally murdered my friend a week from Christmas, decapitated her, and left her body naked in a bathtub.
Oh, God.
She even hid her head. They had to look through the presents, and I don't know where they found it. But they did. I wasn't allowed to go to her funeral.
Okay, well, that wasn't too bad. Let's just hope the rest
of them aren't. It happened to my wife's grandmother about
creepy.
15 years ago while we were still dating. Her husband had just passed away about a year previously, but she'd been going down to the library and volunteering. It was exercise and socialization.
Yeah, just like I'm trying to with watching this.
It was getting dark. The library closed at 5, and there was some extra stuff to do before everyone actually left. And on this particular night, she turned down a ride from another volunteer because she needed to stay in shape. The house is about a mile away through some lightly wooded area in South Texas, and as she's about halfway home, she notices someone behind her. He's walking the same direction and gaining on her, which in itself isn't all that particular. She's old and thus not particularly fast. But in this case, he seems vaguely sinister.
Not being fast in scenarios like this, pretty soon you're pretty much screwed.
Then he falls into pace, just staying behind her. Now she knows something's up.
Christ.
But she's almost home. She can see the top of her driveway coming up, and she leaves her lights on so it'll look like someone's home when she's walking in. She just needs to make it another 150 yards. Then 100. All that time, she said he was so close that she could feel his breath on her neck. Around maybe 50 yards, it happens. A strong hand on her shoulder. Okay, bitch, don't turn around and hand over your purse or I'll cut you. She stops for a second, then takes one big step forward, turns, and shoots the guy in the neck with the .38 she keeps in her purse. The guy spent the next 5 years in a prison hospital before he died of complications. My wife's grandmother passed last year, but up to the end, she lamented that she pulled the trigger too soon.
I don't know if I would feel bad
When I was
if
young,
someone
I'd
threatened
say
me like
8 to
that
11-ish,
in a creepy
my
way.
sister,
I
who
don't. I
was
don't know
7
if I
years
would
older,
feel
would
bad.
babysit when my parents were out. At the
Oh
time,
no,
she
that
smoked a lot, and my
that looks
parents
like
made
my
her
dad's
smoke outside, of
SUV.
course. So I'd
That's not
follow her
good.
outside, play around, annoy her and such.
Oh, don't get me wrong.
One day,
My
sister
dad, he's a
notices a
good
car
man.
at the end of
He's
the
not
driveway,
involved in any crime
just
or
sitting
anything.
in
It's
the
just
road. It's a white
when I
SUV
see
with a
something
bike rack on
in this
top.
video that
It
that
has the most
eerily
tinted windows
resembles
I've ever
my
seen.
everyday life,
You could not see inside from the side.
that I don't know why
It
that
sat
makes
there
it even
until she went
creepier.
inside, then would drive to the end of
Hell,
the
this
road and sit
looks
at the
like
church
this
parking
photo. This
lot and
photo
wait.
looks like it was
Wait
taken in
until she'd come
Indiana.
out again for another smoke, and it would repeat this. Odd, but my sister is a brave lady and just kind of ignored it. That is, until the next day while my parents were out again, and it showed up again. It would sit at the end of the driveway and just watch. I don't know what the driver was doing, but he was watching my sister. I know, because if I didn't go out,
He's a
I'd watch
stalker.
from the front window and it would just sit there
At the
and
very
watch my
least.
sister. She told my father, who was a sheriff deputy at the time, and he called the cops and made a complaint. They showed up, looked around, but the SUV
We're
was
not
nowhere
even
to be
halfway
seen.
through this yet.
Months went by.
We're not
and
even at the
nothing.
5-minute mark yet.
Then one
Almost,
day,
but
a
still.
good 9 months after this had all started, and around 4 months since the last sighting,
I don't know
it
if I
was
could
back.
do this, man.
It became a regular occurrence. Another day, my sister was outside doing her nasty habit, and sure enough, here it comes. This time we were all alone as usual, and she decides she has had enough. She tells me to stay in the carport, and she's gonna go confront them. She starts walking toward the SUV, and halfway down the driveway, she would later remark to us, "I felt utter terror, like I knew if I went any further, I was dead. I was paralyzed by pure fear." She turned around and went inside.
Yeah, speaking of this whole car
Finally,
story,
the family car was in the shop for
there's
some
actually a
kind of
couple
issue,
really.
so we were all stuck home for the night.
Well, there's one that's
While my
particularly
parents are
fucked up
home,
that I want to
my
talk about.
sister
after
goes
this is
outside
over.
to smoke.
Oh god.
I go outside with her, and eventually the SUV shows up. She tells me to run inside and tell my father, and I do.
This stuff's also
My dad
making me a
promptly
little
gets his
itchy.
gun and starts briskly walking down the driveway with it in hand, in the direction of the SUV, but not leveled towards it.
Geese.
The SUV floored it down the road and peeled out onto the nearby large highway. My dad, being a cop, noted the year and model and distinguishing features. The scariest thing, the license plate had been covered in duct tape. We never saw it again.
Oh god, what is this?
I was just 4 or 5 years old, and my parents had just separated.
Fuck no.
My mom was living in a 2-bedroom apartment. I had my own room, but I preferred to sleep in her bed whenever I was staying with her.
Yeah.
Our 2 bedrooms were at the end of the hallway, directly across from each other.
Keep in mind, the only
Our
other person
apartment
in
was
this
on the
house
first
right
floor,
now is my
and I
brother. It's
remember
my
that
older
it was in the
brother.
middle of the summer, and my mom had
So
a
keep in
window
mind
open
when you
in
hear
her room,
footsteps out
which
there,
was
that's just
directly
my
behind the
brother.
bed above the headboard. Anyways,
He might
I
also
woke
come
up in the middle of the
behind and
night
jump
and
scare
remember
us.
sitting up and seeing that our cat was sitting in the doorframe of my mom's room. I should note
Man,
her
this
door
is a good
was
thing
open
why
and
we
you
have
could
like 3
partially
dogs
see
in
into
our
my
house.
bedroom. This
No
was
one
strange
would,
because our
almost
cat
no
was
one
typically
would
always
dare
in bed
try to
with us.
come near our house
As I was
to do
watching
anything
him,
bad.
he walked
because
into my
of that.
bedroom and meowed. I turned to
Most of
face
the
my
time.
mom and woke her up. In the 3 or 4 seconds it took me to wake her up and ask me what was wrong, we both looked back up at the doorframe, and there was a man standing by my open door, making his way out of the bedroom. I still don't know how she managed to do it so quickly, but my mother proceeded to pick me up and literally throw me out of the screen window. She quickly followed, and we were able to start screaming for help, and someone called 911. The police came but didn't see any signs of forced entry, only that our front door was unlocked, which led them to believe that the man must have exited that way. The strange thing was that my mom swore up and down that she had locked the door that night with the deadbolt and chain lock. About a week later, she was cleaning the kitchen and opened up our water heater closet and found a notebook with names and drawings, as well as a pair of gloves and some gum wrappers. The police were called again, but all they could do was speculate that the man had been in our house and hid until we were asleep.
Fuck. Oh. Oh fuck no.
One day while doing my laundry,
We're not even at
one
the
of
halfway
lights
point.
blew
We're
out in my
already
basement.
doing the basement. No.
My basement is
No.
set up so that
I don't
the
fuck with
laundry
this.
room is split up
I
from
do
the
not
other side
fuck
of the
with
basement
this.
with a wall and a door. In order to get upstairs,
God,
you have to exit the laundry room and go through the other part of the basement. So the light blew in the other part, not the laundry room, as it was the only light on that side. It was pretty dark.
Man, the only
I finished the
thing
laundry I had
basements
to
are
do
good
while
for
dreading
is,
the walk
is
through the
especially
dark
if you live in the
basement.
Midwest, is
I
fucking
exit the
avoiding
laundry room,
tornadoes.
get halfway
Which
through the
thankfully,
basement,
where I'm
and I
from in
hear a
Indiana,
loud
we so
cackle.
very rarely get those.
Imagine a sound people make when they imitate
And
a
thank
witch.
God, because I don't want
Take
a
that
basement.
and imagine
No.
the witch had been smoking for
Fuck
50
no.
years, making her voice deeper and hoarser.
Oh, fuck no, he's got
That's
sound
what I heard,
effects.
clear as day, right behind me.
Oh, God.
I didn't hesitate to bolt for the
I
stairs.
can't do this, guys. I can't. I just
waited
can't.
until my father got home and then changed the bolt. I have yet to hear that cackle since, and I have not told a single person in the house about it.
Yeah, because they probably would think you're nuts.
This happened to a friend of mine. She told me about it about a year or so ago. We'll call her Minji. Minji
looks
is
like
in
a
her late
hotel
20s
room.
and works as an English tutor in South Korea. One evening, a few years ago, she was tutoring a high school boy. They were up studying pretty late, and the buses stopped running. Being a long way from his house, the boy asked if he could crash on her floor overnight and get the first bus in the morning. Minji was very reluctant, because inviting a teenage male student to stay the night didn't sound like a great idea. But he was begging her, and eventually she relented. They went back into
He's
her
gonna
apartment,
sexually
and she got
assault
into the
her.
bed while
I
he
just
laid
know
a
it.
blanket out on the floor, and they both fell asleep. A few hours later, at maybe 2 a.m., the boy wakes Minji up. "I'm really hungry," he says. "Let's go get some food." Minji opens her eyes and looks up at him in disbelief. "Food? Now? It's 2 a.m. Go back to bed." But the student insists. "No, I'm so hungry. Let's eat something now." She tells him that there's some ramen in the
You
kitchen
should
and he
immediately
can fix
kick that
himself
boy
some.
out.
This doesn't satisfy
Because
him.
that...
He doesn't want ramen. "There's a 24-hour place just down the road. Let's go there." Eventually, after several minutes of persuasion, the boy gets Minji to come with him to the restaurant. They leave the apartment and head out. As soon as they're on the street, the boy turns to Minji and says, "I'm not hungry. I woke up in the middle of the night and looked under your bed. There's a man sleeping there." They call the police and discover that a homeless man had been living in Minji's apartment, sleeping under the bed for 2 months. The boy only saw him because he was lying on the floor, so he had a clear view under the bed.
Okay. I'll give it this. It definitely was
driving a
very
shortcut
different from what I was
29 Palms,
expecting.
California, to Albuquerque, New Mexico. 29 Palms is located
Oh,
in the
goody. A
desolate
horror
high
story
desert
in
east of
Albuquerque,
LA.
New Mexico.
The shortcut was all 2-lane road through total nothingness, except
Joy.
for passing through Amboy. Amboy is a nearly abandoned town,
fuck.
nearly as far
Not-
below sea level as Death
Not
Valley.
streets like these, please, no.
So I was driving by myself in the afternoon and proceeded to drive up into the
This
mountain
actually ties
range
a little
between
bit
Amboy and
into
I-40.
that story I want to tell you guys.
Once I
don't know
reached
if
the
I've told
top,
this
I'm
before,
driving
but I
north through
feel
a canyon
now
with high
would be
grass
the
on
best
both sides
time.
of the road.
Because it was
Up ahead,
scary.
I see some stuff
I'm
in the
not
middle
going to
of the
lie, it
road.
was scary.
As I approach, I slow down to see a red Pontiac Fiero stopped sideways
God.
across both lanes.
I can't do
A
this.
suitcase open with clothes scattered everywhere and 2 bodies
I knew
laying
I should
face
have kept
down
the
in
lights
road.
on.
A man and a woman.
Or at least my main light on, anyway.
I stop 100 feet or so away, and the hair on the back of my neck is standing up. Being a Marine, I reach under the seat and pull out a 9mm pistol and chamber a round. Something seemed very wrong. It
I'm a
looked too
pacifist,
perfect,
like,
as if it were staged.
Even when someone has a handgun
ambush?
on them, I'm kind of pissed scared.
Something was just
like,
wrong.
I get it. It's for
As I scanned the
self-defense.
road,
I
I
get
saw a
that.
line I could
But
drive. Past the guy in the road on his
honestly, in this
left,
case,
swerved to the right of the woman.
it's one of the
behind
few
Fiero,
instances where I
and
kind
be
of
on the
wish
other
I
side.
would have had a handgun
I dropped
on
it
me.
into first gear, punched it down, and
Especially
drove the line I planned.
since, well, maybe
I
not for
passed
the
the back
story,
of the
but
Fiero
you know
without
what I mean.
hitting it, or either of the bodies in the road. I continued forward a couple of 100 feet and slowed down, so I could breathe and
These
let my
stories
heart
are
slow
fucked,
down.
man. They are just
As I looked
fucked.
up into the rear view mirror, I saw that the 2 bodies had gotten up to their knees, and 20 or so people emerged
Oh
from the tall
no!
grass
Oh
on
no!
either side
It's
of the road.
we're all,
by
we're
the car
in.
and
It's all
bodies.
The Shining up in this
At that
bitch.
moment, my right foot smashed the gas pedal to the floor.
God,
and did
no.
not let up until I had to slow down for the I-40 East on-ramp.
Come play with
I will
us,
never know what would have
bro.
happened to me had I gotten out of the car to check on the bodies, or stopped my car closer to them.
Okay, we're almost there.
Some friends and I were doing some night fishing on the James River. We were sitting along the shoreline with a nice fire going, accompanied by the usual idle talk and a few beers, when suddenly, everyone just stopped talking, like a switch was flipped off. We were all staring across the river and felt as if something, or someone, was staring back. It was a very uneasy feeling, to which some of the group tried to shake off with typical macho humor, when a blood-curdling sound erupted from the other shore that froze everyone in their tracks. The sound was unlike any other that I had ever heard, and it made every hair on my body vibrate and tingle. The only way I could describe it is it sounded like a wild person with no language skills being gutted alive. No words, just this
Man, I'm
high-pitched,
so happy
blood-curdling
Christmas
scream.
time is around the corner. And
Nobody
Thanksgiving.
moved or said
But
a
don't get me
word.
wrong, I love Thanksgiving.
We all
but
just sat there fixed
still,
in our stare.
I'm going to probably
And
do
just
a lot of
suddenly, a second
Christmas-related
scream was let
stuff
loose with even
in the
more
holiday
force than the
season.
first.
Especially after having sat through stuff like this.
By this time, several of us were sprinting to our trucks that were parked a few yards away, retrieving various firearms. When we got back, we all sat there quietly, with our eyes fixed, staring toward the opposite shore, watching the light from our fire reflecting off the rocks. We sat there waiting for another scream, or something to move on the other side of the river.
Nope.
Finally, a third scream came just as suddenly, but this time, it was on our side of the river, coming from the bushes about a yard away.
Okay, can you please stop playing that scream again? Because that scream is going to haunt my nightmares.
There, leaving most of our stuff behind. When we got to our trucks, we heard the scream one more time, just beyond the tree line.
Okay, if you play that one more time, I am going
We
to
all
find
floated
you,
the hell away
and
from
I'm
there
going
and
to
never
kill
found
you.
out what was making the sounds.
Please stop. Okay, good. It's over. So what are we doing this time?
It was a Friday night, and my friend was picking me up in his car from my house. I was in a hurry since we were running late for the hockey game in the city. The whole car ride there, we were having such a good time that I hadn't even noticed that I didn't have my phone.
Oh, fuck. That's not good. That is not good.
I was sure that I had just forgotten it. During the hockey game, I couldn't stop worrying that maybe I had dropped my phone somewhere, so I borrowed my friend's phone and ran to the bathroom. I dialed my number and hoped someone at my house would pick up. It took 3 rings before somebody picked up, but they remained silent on the other end. I yelled into the phone that I was just checking if I had left my phone at home. They didn't answer. I assumed it was my little brother just messing with me, so I hung up.
Oh, no.
I got home late that night to see that my parents weren't home. I got inside my house and called them to see where they were. They told me that they had gone out to eat and see a concert at the park with my little brother. They said they left soon after I had for the game, and they should be home in around half an hour.
Unless
So I
it's
hung up
during
and
the
proceeded to
holidays,
look
that
for my
is
cell
never
phone.
a good thing.
But then I realized, how could somebody in my family have picked up my phone if they hadn't been home? I felt a pain in my stomach as fear swept over. It was at that moment that I heard the back door to my house open and close. I immediately jolted out the front door to the neighbors and called the police. Apparently, the back door was left open and somebody had simply walked into our house. Nothing was stolen, but the scariest thing is the thought that we could have fallen asleep with a stranger in the house.
Yeah, I'm definitely locking my door when I
A
go
while
to
back,
sleep.
there was a family that moved in next door to my family. They had a son who was just twisted. He was obsessive over slasher movies and always wanted me to talk about shit that happened during my time serving in Vietnam that no normal person would want to hear. He also loved tormenting stray animals. This guy was a whack job. He was 19 at the time, and my daughter was 7.
Okay, yeah,
He
it's
always
easy
wanted to
so
talk
far
to
to
her.
see why this one's
He'd
number
strike
one.
up conversation with her when she walked home from school. He would talk over the fence at her when she was playing in the back. But what really set me off was when he called our house looking to speak to her. That was it. I went over and flipped shit at him and his parents. Told him to stay the hell away from her and I'd better not ever see him again. That's when things got weird. My daughter was always a little imaginative and paranoid, She would think there were monsters under her bed and whatnot, so when she told me there was something living in her closet and she was too scared to get up and tell us at night, but it wasn't there in the daytime, we blew it off as no big deal. A few weeks went by, and one night my wife and daughter were staying at my mother's for a girls' night, so I turned the key on the HBO box and watched me some movies, eventually falling asleep downstairs. At around 2 a.m., I get a call from my neighbor with a creepy son, telling me something along the lines of, "We saw that you were up, so we called. Our son is missing. I went by his room to use the bathroom and his door was open, which isn't usual, and there was no sign of him. We need help looking for him." The phone call woke me up, though. I wasn't up, so I asked why they thought I was.
I'm going to assume it's the boy
"I saw
who was
you
in the
walking around
closet.
upstairs and the light is on." My blood ran cold as ice. I'd been passed out on the couch, and I know no one turned any lights on. I hung up on them, ran outside to my truck to grab my shotgun, but noticed the sheriff pulling up to my neighbor's house by this point. I booked it over and told him there was someone in my house, and now I could see the lights in my daughter's room were on, and there was a silhouette pacing back and forth. When the deputies went in, they found the neighbor boy there waiting in my daughter's room with a nice little setup in her closet. He said he liked to watch her sleep in the moonlight.
Whoever the parents are of that little boy, he has some serious mental health issues. You seriously need to take him to a friggin' psychiatrist. And that's putting it mildly. Oh, fuck. Well, as I promised, it was kind of scary. It was my very first rather wrong turn encounter I had with the Popo. Apparently last year there had been an armed robbery that happened in my neighborhood. Yeah, in a suburban neighborhood, mind you, which doesn't happen very often, but whatever. And it happened at one point when I was coming home from work that night. My mother and my brother came to pick me up, and there was this police car parked waiting in the street between my street and one of the cul-de-sac streets near us. He had us pulled over, guns pointing at us, having our hands. It was freaking terrifying, to say the least. But here's the funny thing. Apparently the person who took part in the armed robbery in many ways was wearing almost the exact kind of clothes that I was. I was wearing a blue shirt, black hoodie, white grayish sweatpants, and I think boots. I like to wear my boots, whether it be from whatever job I'm working or going out, especially in the long runs. But regardless, it was really scary. And knowing that there was an armed robbery that happened, I was also a little bit skeptical about that for a little while. So anytime we got home, I would lock the front door and even the back door sometimes. But oh my god, that was scary. It was one of the few times where I was this close to peeing myself. It was friggin' scary. But let's just hope to God that never happens again. Let's just hope to God. Well, that's about all the time we got. If you liked the video, go ahead and comment, like, and or subscribe. Any other suggestions, leave some in the comment section below. And be sure to check out my Patreon account if you got the time. And as always, I'm King Gargantuas. And if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go watch some SpongeBob or Disney or whatever to offset the mood. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to me if you want to see more videos like this. Follow me on Twitter at King Gargantuas if you want to know what I'm up to. And if you want to support videos like this plus the many other ideas that I have in the near future, be sure to support me on patreon.com/KingGargantuas. Thanks again guys, and I'll see you all next time.